The design is known as Fuji for its resemblance to the Japanese mountain, although the designs or origins are unrelated to it. Opperman designed the logo intending for the silhouette to look like the letter A, as in Atari, and for its three prongs to resemble players and the midline of the court in the company's first hit game, Pong. Atari Corporation, 1984 to 1986. Under Tramiel's ownership, Atari Corporation used the remaining stock of game console inventory to keep the company afloat while they finished development on a 16/32-bit system, the Atari ST. ST stands for 16/32, referring to the machine's 16-bit bus and 32-bit processor core. In April 1985, they released the first update to the 8-bit computer line, the Atari 65XE, the Atari XE series. June 1985 saw the release of the Atari 130XE. Atari user groups received early sneak preview samples of the new Atari 520 STs, and major retailer shipments hit store shelves in September 1985 of Atari's new 32-bit Atari ST computers. In 1986, Atari launched two consoles designed under Warner, the Atari 2600 Junior and the Atari 7800 console, which saw a limited release in 1984. Atari rebounded, earning a $25 million profit that year. In 1987, Atari acquired Federated Group for $67.3 million, securing shelf space in over 60 stores in California, Arizona, Texas, and Kansas, at the time when major American electronics outlets were reluctant to carry Atari-branded computers, and 2/3 of Atari's PC production was sold in Europe. The Federated Group, not related to Federated Department Stores, was sold to Silo in 1989. In 1989, Atari released the Atari Lynx, a handheld console with color graphics to much fanfare. A shortage of parts kept the system from being released nationwide for the 1989 Christmas season, and the Lynx lost market share to Nintendo's Game Boy, which, despite only having black and white display, was cheaper, had better battery life, and had much higher availability. Tramiel emphasized computers over game consoles, but Atari's proprietary computer architecture and operating system fell victim to the success of the Wintel platform, while the game market revived. In 1989, Atari Corporation sued Nintendo for $250 million, alleging it had a legal monopoly. Atari eventually lost the case when it was rejected by a U.S. District Court in 1992. In 1993, Atari positioned its Jaguar as the only 64-bit interactive media entertainment system available, but it sold poorly. It would be the last home console to be produced by Atari and the last to be produced by any American manufacturer until Microsoft's introduction of the Xbox in 2001. By 1996, a series of successful lawsuits had left Atari with millions of dollars in the bank, but the failure of the Lynx and Jaguar left Atari without a product to sell. Tramiel and his family also wanted out of the business. The result was a rapid succession of changes in ownership. In July 1996, Atari merged with JTS Incorporated, a short-lived maker of hard disk drives, to form JTS Corporation. Atari's role in the new company largely became that of holder for the Atari properties and minor support, and consequently the name largely disappeared from the market. As a division of Hasbro, 1998 to 2000. In March 1998, JTS sold the Atari name and assets to Hasbro Interactive for $5 million, less than a fifth of what Warner Communications had paid 22 years earlier. This transaction primarily involved the brand and intellectual property, which now fell under the Atari Interactive division of Hasbro Interactive. The brand name changed hands again in December 2000 when French software publisher Infogrames took over Hasbro Interactive. And now we come to the present, which is Infogames/Atari SA. In October 2001, Infogrames, now Atari SA, announced that it was reinventing the Atari brand with the launch of 3 new games, featuring a prominent Atari branding on their box arts: Splashdown, MX Rider, and Trans World Surf. Infogrames used Atari as a brand name for games aimed at 18 to 34-year-olds. Other Infogrames games under the Atari name included V-Rally 3, Neverwinter Nights, Stuntman, and Enter the Matrix. On May 7th, 2003, Infogrames had its majority-owned but its discrete U.S. subsidiary, Infogrames NA, officially renamed Atari Incorporated, renamed its European operations to Atari Europe, but kept the original name of the main company, Infogrames Entertainment. The original Atari Holdings division purchased from Hasbro Interactive, was also made a separate corporate entity renamed as Atari Interactive. Between 2004 and 2011, Atari produced and marketed Atari Flashback retro consoles, reminiscent of the Atari 2600 design. Since 2011, these consoles have been produced by AtGames under the license from Atari. Atari Flashback Portable is a handheld game console from 2016 to 2017. On March 6, 2008, Infogrames made an offer to Atari Incorporated to buy out all remaining public shares for a value of $1.68 per share, or $11 million total. The offer would make Infogrames sole owner of Atari Incorporation, thus making it a privately held company. On April 30th, 2008, Atari Incorporation announced its intentions to accept Infogrames' buyout offer and to merge with Infogrames. On October 8, 2008, Infogrames completed its acquisition of Atari Incorporation, making it a wholly owned subsidiary. On December 9, 2008, Atari announced that it had acquired Cryptic Studios, a MMORPG developer. Namco Bandai purchased a 34% stake in Atari Europe on May 14, 2009, paving the way for its acquisition from Infogrames. Atari had significant financial issues for several years, prior with losses in the tens of millions since 2005. In May 2009, Infogrames Entertainment SA, the parent company of Atari and Atari Interactive, announced it would change its name to Atari SA.
Got this new video
In April 2010, Atari SA board member and former CEO David Gardner resigned. Original Atari co-founder Nolan Bushnell joined the board as a representative for Blue Bay Holdings. As of March 31st, 2011, the board of directors consisted of Frank Dangerard, Jim Wilson, Tom Verdon, and Gene Davies, and Alexandra Fischelin.